Hi, and thank you all for coming to our Wellness Wednesday Wisdom Lecture here at the Lenox Community Center. My name is Annette Sandler. I'm the project coordinator for the St. Louis Park NORC project, Nurturing Our Retired Citizens. It's a federal demonstration project sponsored by the Federal Administration on Aging. Today, I have the privilege of introducing Kara Meyer. Kara is a registered dietitian. Kara plans menus for senior dining. Kara will speak today on general nutrition for seniors and the effects of the fast food industry on nutrition.
And today we're going to talk about healthy fast food. And how many of you here eat fast food? How many hands? Okay. Well, did you know that Americans now spend more money on fast food than they do on entertainment, higher education, movies, music, things like that? Why is that we're attending or that we're eating out at fast food restaurants? It's quick and easy for us. It's convenient. Today we live in the fast-paced world, so we like things to be quick, and we quickly like to grab food on the run. And many of us are very busy. So there are now more than 300,000 fast food restaurants in the United States, and they are even popping up in hospitals. Have any of you seen any of the fast food restaurants in hospitals? I know that Abbott Northwestern has a McDonald's inside the hospital. So what do you think of that? Yeah, they're just becoming very popular. And this is causing a concern for us. Can you think of any concerns that fast food restaurants might cause?
Well, most of their foods are high calories.
Okay.
They add a lot to them to make them supposedly tastier.
Most of the foods are high in calories, and they're adding sodium and fat to make the food taste better. And this might actually be contributing to the obesity rate. Does anyone know what the percentage of adults that are now overweight in America? It's around 61%. 61% of U.S. adults are overweight, and 25% or more are obese. So fast food restaurants could be contributing to the obesity rate. And why is obesity a concern? That can increase the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, stroke, can cause hypertension. Okay, so obesity is a real concern, and according to a Surgeon General's report that came out, obesity may soon pass tobacco as the leading preventable cause of death. What qualifies for a person to be overweight or obese? And we use the body mass index, which is an equation that we use involving the weight and the height. And if that body mass index ends up to be I think for men it's a little different, but if it ends up being like over 24, then that means that a person is overweight. If it ends up being closer to 30 and higher, then that is obesity. And as it gets higher, it becomes severe obesity and then morbid obesity. So, and we also use an ideal body weight equation. Dietitians and doctors use the ideal body weight equation, which is for a woman, the first 5 feet is 100 pounds, and for every inch after that, it's another pound. So if I'm 5 feet tall, then my ideal body weight is 100 pounds, and then plus or minus 10%. For a male, it's the first 5 feet is 6 pounds, and then for every inch after that, then you add on 5 pounds for that. Okay. So one thing that I want to talk about is when we go out to fast food restaurants, we need to be careful with bargain meals or larger servings. How many of you have seen the supersize menus at McDonald's or some of the other fast food restaurants? The problem with these is that we might actually end up buying a bigger size belt instead of saving money. They call this value marketing, because what happens is that you can go and supersize at a McDonald's restaurant or a fast food restaurant for just a little bit more money. You know, it doesn't cost much more. For example, you know, at McDonald's you can supersize your value meal for about 39 cents and get the supersized fries and the supersized pop. So for not much money, then you can supersize, and we call this value marketing. And it's really confused Americans, because I think a lot of us think, oh, well, I can save money, so just for a little bit extra more, then I can buy the large pop, you know, the huge large pop, which is like 56 ounces of pop. And then, of course, the fast food restaurants, a lot of them have free refills, so you can keep going back and getting pop. So that can add on an extra lot of calories. In fact, I did bring this book here. It's a calorie counter book that I got when I went to an American Dietetic Association meeting a couple years ago. And this book is really helpful because it has all of the fast food calories and grams of fat, sodium, things like that. And you know, it says in here that a large pop, or the supersized pop, has a lot of calories in here. Let's see if I can look that up. Like this is a 32-ounce Coke, has 310 calories. A supersized Coke has 410 calories. So if you get another refill, then you double that, so that's over 800 calories. So I think a lot of times we don't realize that we're taking in a lot of extra calories. And it's real important that we look at appropriate portion size. In fact, people are eating about 150 more calories today than they did 20 years ago. And have any of you noticed that portion sizes have gotten bigger? When you go out to eat at a restaurant, it used to be, McDonald's would just have a single hamburger and a small fries, and now everything is supersized. It's so large. And even at some of the restaurants like Applebee's or TGI Fridays, the portion sizes are just much bigger than they were several years ago.
Why do you think that is? Because it's usually...
Okay, her question is, why do I think that restaurants are having bigger portion sizes? Because as we get older, we don't need as many calories, which is true. We don't tend to burn as many calories, and in fact, we need more nutrients as we get older, but we don't need as many calories. Does anybody have an idea as to why the restaurants are providing such big portion sizes?
I buy them.
Because you buy them?
Because if it's bigger, it's better.
Because it's bigger and better.
American attitude.
And that's the American attitude, and that's what customers want.
But then they charge more.
And then they charge more, she says. But people still buy it. That is what the consumers want. They want big portion sizes, and I guess people are willing to pay for it. Yeah, and unfortunately, most people will clean their whole plate. Most people don't bring it home. I know that you mentioned that you like to bring half of it home, which is just wonderful. But a lot of people, and many older adults have grown up learning to clean their whole plate.
Yeah, well, I would too.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how many of you grew up cleaning your whole plate? Okay. Right. So we need to change the mindset and remember that we want to listen to our bodies. And when we feel satisfied, when our stomachs feel satisfied, we want to stop. And there's nothing wrong with, cutting your sandwich in half and taking the rest home and eating it for lunch the next day. In fact, it's a good way to save money as well, because you have an extra meal. So, restaurants are getting to be much more expensive. And even fast food restaurants can be pricey if you're eating out every day. People that go to McDonald's every day and order a value meal that might cost about $5, that's $5 a day. That can add up if you continue eating that every day. So, it isn't always cheap either. And I know that some of the fast food restaurants are more expensive than others. So and you've probably seen on the news that obesity is a real issue right now. In fact, it's becoming an epidemic, and it's putting Americans at an increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes, which is definitely an epidemic. And I think we need to realize that obesity is very serious and that it's actually affecting us in many ways. If it's increasing the risk of heart disease and diabetes, then that's increasing our health care costs because people are needing more treatment options. So I think that prevention is really important if we can try to prevent people from getting these diseases, especially type 2 diabetes. Yes.
I think if we're wise consumers, sometimes we can ask if we're at dinner, if they'll give us a.
She had a very good point. She said that if we're a wise consumer, that when we go out to eat, like for example, if you go out to eat at a restaurant during the noon time, to ask to order the lunch size portion, a smaller portion, and then pay less, and you will have a smaller meal, and you won't end up consuming as many calories, and it's an appropriate size meal as well as you're saving money. And I know a lot of restaurants do offer the lunch specials now.
For
So
dinner, you can order a lunch-size portion.
for dinners, you can order lunch portions at some restaurants. Okay, I know sometimes they have certain times for when you can do that, but I mean, if there are restaurants out there that will do that, then that's wonderful. Yes.
Or more options on the senior menu.
Yes.
Or put more options on the senior menus, and I always think it's good when restaurants have a senior option menu because the prices are cheaper and the portion sizes are smaller a lot of the times. Yes.
I was just gonna ask, for a woman, what do you think is the, calorie amount per day a woman should have?
Okay, her question is how many calories should a woman have? Now we need to remember that each one of us is different and that each one of us has a different calorie need or calorie requirement. In fact, men and women differ from each other, and age differs as well. When we're looking at calorie needs, we want to consider our height, because the taller a person is, the more calories they are. If somebody weighs more, they might need more calories, but they also might need to decrease that calorie amount in order to lose weight. Our exercise, our activity level also is a factor. If I'm a 65-year-old woman who goes walking every day, then I might need more calories as opposed to a 65-year-old woman who's just sitting in her chair all day. Usually the average calorie amount for a woman is around 1,500 calories a day. For a man, it's a little more like 1,800. But that's just an average amount. So just remember that. Question, Annette?
Yeah, do you think that on the senior menu at most restaurants, that not only are they maybe the portion size smaller and less expensive, are they healthier? Do they have less salt, or do they have?
Okay. Her question is regarding the senior menus at restaurants. We mentioned that the portion sizes are smaller and the prices are cheaper, but are they actually healthier? I don't see any of them being I don't see them being healthier when I've looked at, like, for example, the menus at Perkins. They receive the same food, like pancakes. It's just a smaller portion, so they don't tend to be lower in fat and lower than sodium. Sometimes menus have a healthier section on them, maybe a light section. I know Chili's has a menu, they call it the guiltless options, where they have like a grilled chicken sandwich or salads that are lower in fat and lower in calories. But now the hot new thing is the Atkins menus that we're seeing out there, and that's becoming really popular. It's the low carb, and I'm sure that you've all seen them even at the fast food restaurants. Burger King will have out on their sign, try our low carb sandwich, or Subway will have the low carb sandwiches where they wrap the food in lettuce instead of bread. And again, I think that goes back to portion size. I think that's why people tend to lose weight on these low carb diets, is because they're not eating the big, huge portions, and they're cutting a lot of foods out of their diet, which is going to lower the calorie amount and cause us to lose weight. So I think that it's all about moderation. And I don't think that we should be cutting out carbohydrates. You know, that really is an important source. It's our primary source of fuel, so we don't want to be limiting foods. And a lot of these foods are really high in different nutrients. Okay. Well, let's talk about what fast food has in them. Somebody mentioned that fast food is really high in calories, and that's true. In fact, the Burger King Whopper has 640 calories. It's just an example right there. Or, you know, McDonald's offers the supersized quarter pounder with cheese value meal, which is extremely high in calories. It's over 1,000 calories right there. So that's one thing that we want to be aware of. What else can you think of that's in fast food?
Sodium.
Okay, it's very high in the sodium, definitely. Does anybody know what the dietary guidelines advise for how much sodium we should have in a day? We should have less than 2,400 milligrams of sodium in a day, and that's not very much. That's not very much at all. In fact, in just like a fourth of a teaspoon of table salt, you know, can add up. That has quite a bit of sodium in it. Can add up to that 2,400 milligrams. So different items like a biscuit with bacon, egg, and cheese, it has around 1,500 milligrams of sodium. You know, those egg McMuffins can be really high if you have the bacon on there and the cheese and things like that. So, and we know that sodium is linked to what as far as health goes? High blood pressure, right? And it can also cause edema. And if somebody has congestive heart failure, they want to limit their sodium intake. So eating at fast food restaurants would not be a good idea. That might cause a lot of fluid retention. Can you think of anything else that fast food is high in that isn't good for us?
Fat.
Definitely fat. And a high-fat diet is, what does that do to our cholesterol level? It raises our cholesterol level, okay, and it causes plaque buildup in our arteries or hardening of the arteries, which is called atherosclerosis. So that's when the plaque builds up in our arteries and the blood isn't able to flow through, and that can cause a heart attack or a stroke. And fast foods are very high in fat. If you order the McDonald's McChicken value meal, you'll end up getting 44 grams of fat. And what does the American Heart Association recommend? How much fat should we have in a day? There's a percentage. They're recommending that we limit our fat intake to less than 30% of our calories, which isn't very high. They recommend that we get around 55 to 60% of our calories coming from carbohydrate. So we need a lot more coming from carbohydrate than we do from protein and fat. It can also be high in cholesterol, okay, which is, linked to fat as well. So fast food has a lot of things that are not very good for us. But I also want you to realize that when you go out to fast food restaurants, you can choose some healthy items. You just need to make sure you read the menu well and look for some healthy choices. Can anybody think of any healthy choices that you've seen? Okay, salads. What about what I put on my salad? I have to be careful about maybe the amount of salad dressing, and it's still okay to have a salad and put some salad dressing on it, but maybe just drizzle a little bit on there because the salad dressing is full of a lot of fat. And it also depends on what is on the salad. If they put a lot of cheese and meat, like a chef salad is going to have a lot more fat because it has ham, turkey, cheese, might have, some eggs on them. So just be aware of that as well. But it's always a good idea to get a salad, especially now in the summertime. It's a good idea to get a salad because you are getting some vegetables, and of course we want to remember to eat our 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. Can you think of anything else that you've seen at any of the fast food restaurants that could be healthy?
Broiled chicken.
Broiled chicken or the grilled chicken sandwich. That's a very good choice. You know, McDonald's has a grilled chicken sandwich. Wendy's has a grilled chicken. Actually, Wendy's also has some healthy options. First of all, the salads there are very good and healthy. Wendy's also has a baked potato that you can order. Of course, we want to be careful with what we put on it, the butter and sour cream, and maybe just put a little bit on there. I'm not saying we can't put any sour cream on there, but the amount really makes a difference. Again, that goes back to portion size, is how much fat are we putting on our baked potato. The sour cream and butter are both high in the saturated fat, which can raise our cholesterol level.
Isn't there chili considered to be a low fat too?
I was just going to say that Wendy's has chili, which is low in fat. So that is a good option as well. And it's high in protein and iron. The meat and the beans, it's a really good source of protein and iron. And with the tomatoes, with the tomato base in there, you have the vitamin C, which helps to absorb the iron. So if somebody has anemia, then a chili is a wonderful choice to eat because it really helps to boost that iron level up. McDonald's has the fruit and yogurt parfaits. Have you seen those? Those are a healthier option. They have some berries mixed with yogurt with a little bit of granola in them. So those are pretty good if you want to try one of those. But the first thing we want to do is to read the menu. Change our fast food mindset and maybe try to, if we do eat at fast food, try not to eat there every day, but when we do eat there, try to choose healthier options. Instead of supersizing, we want to downsize. So what do I mean by that?
Stay with the smaller portion.
Right, stay with the smaller portions. It's okay to get, a small hamburger and a small French fry. Maybe once a month if I, want to go out to eat. That would be okay. That's better than getting a Burger King Whopper with the mega-sized soft drink.
Like a kids meal be okay?
Actually, the kids' meal is much lower in the calories. So for an adult, that would be a good idea to get that. If you wanted to have something, and I'm not saying every day it's okay to eat a kids' meal, but yes, the kids' meal is a good option to get because the portion sizes are so much smaller.
Will they sell it to you?
I know McDonald's will. You don't have to be under a certain age, but some of those places, they might say you have to be like 10 or under and things like that. But I know McDonald's, you could walk in there and ask them for a Happy Meal, and I think they just give it to you. I don't think they question your age. So. Yeah.
See your birth certificate.
Yeah, it is definitely a good way to go, because that's another problem, is that it's more expensive to buy a small hamburger and a small fries and a small pop than it is to buy the value meal, which is a large fry and I think it's a medium-sized pop. So again, where it's in that mindset, the value marketing. Oh, to save money, I'm going to buy the larger size fry with the larger drink. But actually, getting the Happy Meal would be a good option. Now, remember earlier I mentioned that we want to try to eat our 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. So how can we do that when we eat out at fast food restaurants?
When you say 5,
She just said that when we eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, that could include either 3 servings of fruits, 2 servings of veggies, or 2 servings of veggies and 3 servings of fruit. But we need to know what a serving size is. If I have a sandwich with just 1 slice of tomato on it, is that enough for a serving of vegetable? No. I mean, it helps. It definitely helps, and it is something, but it isn't enough to be a serving. So as far as raw vegetables go, like a lettuce salad or If you have some raw carrot sticks, raw broccoli, we want that to be a whole cup of vegetables. If we have cooked vegetables, like cooked peas or corn, it's only a half a cup. So that's not too big of a serving. So do you think most of you could eat some frozen vegetables at home, take some out of your freezer, throw them in your microwave, and eat a half a cup serving? That's one serving right there. Yes?
Which vegetables are highest in sodium?
Okay, her question is which vegetables are highest in sodium? Does anybody know this answer? There's a corn. Okay, actually, it depends on how you're buying the vegetables. The vegetables that are the highest in sodium would be all canned vegetables. So there really aren't any vegetables that are particularly high in sodium naturally, except for celery has a little bit in there, but canned vegetables are the highest. So what would be a better option for me instead of canned vegetables? Frozen, definitely frozen or fresh. Yes, the frozen vegetables don't have any, they have very little sodium in them.
Which vegetables are highest in carbohydrate?
Which vegetables are highest in carbohydrate? I will, anytime that you're thinking about carbohydrate, I would think starchy vegetables. So does anybody know which vegetables are starchy? Corn, potatoes, beans, not green beans, but dried beans, kidney beans, and peas. Lima beans are starchy as well. So those are the ones that are higher in carbohydrate. So if somebody has diabetes, they want to watch their amount of the starchy, the high carbohydrate vegetables. Most of our vegetables are very low in carbohydrate, like lettuce salads, cucumbers, celery, peppers. Those are all fairly low in the carbohydrate. Mm-hmm.
Which vegetables, when cooked, lose their nutritive value?
Okay, our question is which vegetables lose their nutrition or their nutrients when they're cooked? There has been some studies done on cooking vegetables, and it depends on how your vegetables are cooked. But what we want to do is try to use as little water as possible when we're cooking vegetables, because we tend to lose nutrients in water. So, like in the microwave would be a good idea. Just use a little bit of water. If you're steaming vegetables, you don't lose as many nutrients that way. Keep the lid on when you're steaming vegetables, and you won't lose as many nutrients in the steam. But I've also read some studies about carrots, that when we cook carrots, we tend to have more of that beta carotene, so we don't lose as much when carrots are cooked and actually pureed, like mashed down. We tend to get more of the beta carotene that way. So, yes.
The easy way to increase your fruits and vegetables is to drink juice with meals.
An easy way to increase your fruits and vegetables intake is to drink juice with your meals. Yes, juice is another way to get a fruit or vegetable serving if you're drinking tomato juice. Of course, we want to make sure that it's 100% fruit juice, because otherwise we can't count that as a serving. And the amount, the portion size is important. A half a cup of fruit juice, just a little bit, is one serving. So a half a cup isn't big. Juice is wonderful, but the only problem about it is that it's high in the sugar. So if we drink a big glass of juice with every meal, we're going to be getting a lot of extra calories and sugar. In fact, it has just as much as pop does. So, but it is a good way to get your fruit.
And is that true fruit juice or constant
It's,
sugar?
well, any that's 100% fruit juice.
Yes,
So if it
okay.
says on the label, yes, it does have sugar in it. And another thing about juice is it doesn't have the fiber. Like, for example, an apple, a medium-sized apple has the fiber in it, a lot of fiber, and it has water in it. And the juice doesn't have any fiber in it. And why do we need fiber?
Keep things moving.
He said to keep things moving or keep us regular, prevent constipation. But juice is also good at providing fluid. It's a good fluid source, and of course we need to remember to get our fluid to help prevent constipation as well. Okay, so of course we want to enjoy some veggies when we're eating out at fast food restaurants. So what could I do with my sandwiches?
Not eat all the bread.
Salad.
Okay, salad, and she said not eat all the bread. Well, salad is definitely a wonderful way. You can also add some lettuce and tomato on your sandwich. Maybe take away the mayo that's a little higher in the fat and add on lettuce and tomato. Now that bread, that kind of goes back to that low carb thing, which a lot of people I know are doing right now. They're eliminating the bread. And I think that's an individual decision if you want to take off your bread or not. But if we were eating like a big loaf of bread, like if you go out to eat at Olive Garden or something and you eat, 3 or 4 of those breadsticks that you give you, then you're getting too much bread, definitely. But I don't think it's going to hurt to have, the bun. Yes?
Is there a bread that is, I'm thinking, is 7-grain bread a better bread than white bread?
I would say, okay, his question is 7-grain bread a better bread than white bread? We want to look for whole wheat bread. So whole grains. And 7-grain bread could be a whole grain, but you need to look at the labels. And that's another thing it's hard for consumers because sometimes they can trick us and, color bread, make bread brown and make us think that it's a whole grain bread, but really it's not. It's just, dyed that color. So what we want to do is look at the food label, actually look at the ingredients label, and if the first ingredient is whole wheat or whole grain, then we know it's a whole grain. Yeah, the whole grains are very beneficial, and a lot of studies have found that whole grains help to prevent the risk of diabetes and heart disease, and they're so full of fiber. They're just wonderful. And unfortunately, I haven't found any fast food restaurants that have whole grains, that have any whole grain breads.
Why?
Okay, he said to me it sounds like that I'm against the low carb diets that are popular these days, and he's asking me why. Well, actually, a low carb diet could be a whole another discussion, a whole topic, because there are so many different diets that now are, low carb, high protein. And a lot of dietitians are against those diets right now because we don't feel that there has been enough research done as far as being on them for a long-term basis. They have found studies that show that people do lose weight on low carbohydrate diets, and they tend to lose the weight, but there hasn't been research on the long-term consequences. And I get concerned about things that could happen, like, for example, if we're eliminating food groups out of our diet, like eliminating fruit because it's high in carbohydrate, then we may lose some nutrients like vitamins A and C, or if we take milk out of our diet, then we lose calcium. So I think it's just real important that we eat a balanced diet and incorporate all the different food groups. And I'm not saying that, you should never be on, the South Beach diet. I think it depends on the person. It's an individualized thing. And, like South Beach diet is different than the Atkins diet. Atkins is more where you can eat as many of the saturated fats as you want, like bacon, cheese, butter. Though we know that those foods tend to raise cholesterol level, whereas the South Beach diet tends to focus more on healthier fats, like using olive oil and, encouraging lean meats or healthy fish, which I think is a good idea, which I do think is good. I just don't know if people should be on it for a long time because we get concerned that it's hard on the kidneys because the kidneys have to excrete protein. So when we eat too much protein, the kidneys work harder to do that. It can cause osteoporosis. We get concerned about heart disease, things like that.
But are the diets good for a short
Okay.
A long period?
He's asking if the diets are good for a short period of time. I do know that studies have come out saying that these diets do cause weight loss. In fact, when they've compared it to a low-fat diet, people tend to lose the weight faster when they're on the low-carbohydrate diet. But first of all, I would ask you to ask your physician, because anytime we go on a diet, especially a diet like that, we want to make sure that it's okay and that the doctor has approved it. So that's kind of how I feel about it, and I know, and we need to remember that, there is always new research coming out, and things are always changing, and nutrition is just based on theories, and I just think it's important that we have a variety of different foods.
But isn't it a matter of lifestyle change? If you're used to eating high-fat, high-carb diets, and you want to switch, isn't this a good tool to
Okay.
help you go to a lower fat or?
His question is this a
lifestyle?
good, as far as lifestyle change goes, is this a good diet to have for a lifestyle change?
Temporary change, I guess.
Okay, because if it's a lifestyle change, then we would be continuing that, and that's where the concern is that, could it cause kidney failure, things like that. And honestly, I think the reason why people lose the weight on these diets is because of the calories, because they're taking certain foods out of their diet. They're, eliminating bread, potatoes, things like that, which it's calories, so it adds up. So when we're eliminating foods, then we don't take in as many calories. I think that we may be able to lose weight just as well by watching our portion size, but not everybody is the same either, so it depends on the person. Somebody might lose weight easier than another person. And I also want to mention that exercise is just as important as in initiating weight loss as our diet. Okay. Question?
Yeah, I understand
They gain it back. Right. Okay, she said that her understanding is that people who have been on these diets, the low carbohydrate diets, they do tend to lose a lot of weight at first. And usually, especially on the first 2 weeks, people will drop a lot of weight because carbohydrates hold a lot of water. So when we lose water weight, then we do lose weight. That's one of the things that happens first, is that we tend to lose the water. But as soon as people start eating, carbohydrates again, start eating the bread and potatoes, they tend to lose the weight back. So again, that, goes back to the whole lifestyle change. So I just think healthy eating is important. And she mentioned that she attends TOPS, which does not actually have a specific diet. It's more of where you make the decision of what you want to eat. And that, it sounds like it's similar to Weight Watchers as well, where you're on the point system. And, as long as you stay within your calorie amount for the day, then you're okay, or the point system, that you can eat this food because it's this many points. And I think it just goes back to getting the variety and the calorie amount and portion sizes. Okay.
As a temporary factor.
Okay, she said that sometimes these quick low carbohydrate diets are important because some people need to lose the weight very quickly, and then they can continue on with a healthy eating. Maybe you start out losing a lot of weight at first, but then we want to continue on a healthier, where you're getting, your fruits and vegetables and getting a variety. And some people who are severely obese, may even need to have like gastric bypass surgeries and things like that, just to get some initial weight loss going. So again, that's why I do think it's individualized, and you do want to talk to your doctor before being on any new diets or trying any new products that you can just buy in the stores, some of those nutrition supplements. You want to definitely show those to your doctor. Okay, so let's get back to talking about fast food now. As far as beverages at fast food restaurants, what could we get that would be healthy for us?
water.
Okay, water. You're not going to get any calories that way.
Milk,
Milk.
black coffee.
Okay, did you know that some fast food restaurants do have milk available? You need to ask them. I know McDonald's does have 1%. So milk is always a good option. Get your calcium. Some have orange juice. I know McDonald's has orange juice. Okay, so you could get juice. Okay. Well, let's talk about some healthier fast food choices in your packet. I did list a little chart of better fast food choices. For example, instead of the quarter pounder with cheese, you can get a regular size hamburger. Instead of French fries, what could we get? Baked potato. What about if, I know fast food restaurants may not have this, but what else could you get instead of French fries? You could get a side salad as an option, or fruit. I know some restaurants you can substitute, instead of getting the French fries, you can order fresh fruit on the side. What about milkshakes? For those of you who like your milkshakes in this weather.
Only for people who are thin.
Milkshakes are only for people who are thin? Oh, I don't know. Remember, thin people can have high cholesterol levels as well, so they're still at risk for a heart attack. So we need to remember that milkshakes are high in the cholesterol and saturated fat. Have any of you ever had frozen yogurt or low-fat ice cream? If you can find that. I believe McDonald's has low-fat ice cream now. Instead of chicken nuggets, what could you get?
Is there anything in place of?
Grilled chicken salad.
Grilled chicken salad. Okay, you're looking right off the chart there. And then now something, I do want you to take a look in your packet. It's the green sheet where it says rate your fast food diet. What do you eat? This is just something for you to do yourselves, and you can do this on your own time if you'd like, but it's just something for you to see, you know, what do you eat? You know, ask yourselves, what would I put on my bagel? You know, the first question, what would I most likely put on my bagel or English muffin? You know, would it be jam, light cream cheese, margarine, or would it be regular cream cheese? And at the end there you see if you circle mostly A, then that means that you're choosing healthy foods or healthy fast food items. If you're choosing C or D, then you might want to pay more attention to healthier items. So, for example, on the last question, which sandwich would you most likely order at McDonald's? Would it be a grilled chicken sandwich, or would you get a quarter pounder with cheese? Ask yourself that. So you can do that on your own time if you like. And I also can pass around this calorie, fat, and carbohydrate counter if anybody wants to look in here to see if you're wondering about foods. This also has frozen meals as well. So do any of you buy frozen meals? Okay, so you can take a look at those. In fact, that's a whole nother topic, is frozen meals. But there are some good, healthy frozen meals out there, like Healthy Choice is a good brand. Lean Cuisine is another pretty good one. But some of those, like Marie Callender's and stuff, like Swanson's, those can be pretty high in calories. Mainly frozen dinners are high in the sodium. So that's something that we want to be aware of. But I can pass this around if anyone would like to take a look, or if you have any questions about certain fast foods or frozen meals or anything like that. You know, we need to remember that bread is not high in fat. A lot of people think that bread is high in fat. It is high in carbohydrate, but it's okay if you're just having a little bit. So I think Subway is actually pretty good. And I know that they do have those new wraps now, which are healthy. There are certain types of Subway sandwiches that are healthier than others. What would be a good option? What would be lower in the fat?
Chicken.
Okay, chicken, they have I think they call it the roast chicken breast one. That's really good. Now, should I be adding a lot of cheese on my Subway? Cheese has a lot of fat, so we might want to be careful with that. Now, anytime that they advertise those low-fat Subways that are 7 grams and less, those Subway sandwiches do not have cheese on them or mayo. So they're talking just usually the meat and the vegetables. Turkey breast is another good one to get. The ham is lower in fat as well. So I do have the pamphlet here if anyone wants to take a look at Subway's nutrition information as well. And please be aware that you can ask fast food restaurants for the nutrition information. Sometimes they have it sitting out, and other times you might have to ask. But it's always good to take a look at the brochure so you're aware of the fat, calorie, and sodium information. Did any of you hear about the man that wanted to sue fast food chains? Did you hear about that? I have the article right here. Well, okay, this is a 56-year-old maintenance worker who weighs 270 pounds. He's 5'10". He claims that McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and KFC jeopardized his health with their greasy, salty fare, and he filed a class action lawsuit. He claims that the fast food restaurants where he used to eat 4 to 5 times a week, even after suffering a heart attack, did not properly disclose the ingredients of their food and the risks of eating too much. So what do you all think about that?
It was thrown out of court.
Yes, it was thrown out of court, but I was just wondering if you think that
He didn't have much self-control.
yeah, he didn't have any self-control. Okay, but did anybody put a gun to his head telling him that he needs to eat at McDonald's 5 times a
He
week?
didn't have to
No.
do that, he could cook his own.
Okay, he could cook his own, so it's our choice. Yes.
Yep, it's your choice.
Do you have any other questions? I think we're winding down.
Could you give us the overweight formula again? You brushed on it briefly, but can you?
Is there somewhere I could write it down? Or maybe there isn't a board. Here, body mass index is its weight in kilograms squared over, okay, it's the weight in kilograms squared over our height in centimeters.
I'll do the whole conversion for you.
Oh, really? Okay, she said go on the Mayo Clinic website and they will do the conversion for the website. So is it mayoclinic.com?
I believe so, I'm not sure exactly, but it's just
Okay.
the Mayo Clinic website and it's the
Sure.
BMI index.
Okay, the BMI index.
Could you just repeat the 100 pounds for 5 feet?
Yes. Okay, for a female, we take the height. 5 feet is 100 pounds. For every inch after that, you add on 5 pounds. And for males, it's for 100 pounds, it's the first 6, oh no, I'm all messed up. It's 106 pounds for the first 5 feet. For every pound after that, you add on, for every inch after that, you add on 6 pounds. Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to thank Kara Meyer again for coming, Kara from Volunteers of America, and thank you all for coming to the NORC Wellness Wednesday lecture.